Quiero agradecer a GeneXus por la invitación. Hoy vamos a tratar algo que se ha tocado en alguna de las otras.
Good afternoon. This will be the end of our long day. I would like to thank GeneXus for this invitation, and I would like to discuss how there have been changes in behavior in the financial industry. And it's not only a technological change. We see the way in which banks and financial institutions are offering services to the clients. My name is Ramón Heredia. If you need to get in touch with us, here's the contact information. We created an ecosystem about 5 years ago, which is focused on cooperation and trust spaces like this one. We had a meeting in Montevideo in April this year, and we will have more meetings next year in the rest of Latin America, here and in the rest of Latin America. This goes hand in hand with a digital revolution that is based on mobility, social network, the cloud solutions. Well, I'm not going to enter into detail of this about these pillars because many speakers have already done it. In many countries, most people are connected with internet. We worked in La Paz, Bolivia, on digital banking last month, and in spite of what one may know or think, many of the transactions are already being done by mobile devices, and the Bolivian government is working a lot on financial inclusion based on this kind of technology. Most people already connect to internet with mobile devices. More than half of the day they spend this much time using mobile devices. And Facebook already has more than 1.6 billion inhabitants. It's like a country because they're already positioning concepts that are relevant due to the power they have. Many have said that Facebook is going to disappear and that the young are not using Facebook, but Facebook is still growing. And between Facebook and WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, they have the biggest share of the communications market. Mark Zucker has the vision of giving power to people so that they can share anything at any point. A couple of months ago, he made a presentation telling about Facebook vision for the next 20 years. He intends to strengthen Facebook as an ecosystem. And why do I say this in a presentation on the banking world? Well, because he is strengthening his ecosystem, and in 5 years he intends to consolidate the app system he has. He's bought some, but he intends to consolidate them so that the apps work, and they have to belong to an ecosystem for this purpose. And thereafter, he will continue developing connectivity. Mark Zuckerberg has the project internet.org, which means giving free internet to the world population. And this is a social benefit, but it's also a benefit for his own business. Artificial intelligence. It was also mentioned here, the Silicon Valley, and the biggest struggle nowadays is for developers of artificial intelligence and scientists of artificial intelligence. They are being pursued by the biggest companies like Amazon, Facebook, Google, etc. And these are the three technology visions on which they are focusing in order to continue developing the ecosystem. The digital evolution has led to unicorns, which are companies over $1 million, and here you have the most important ones. And these are companies that are very much related to the gig economy. This is an important trend that US candidates are mentioning in their debates. It's the economy of informal employment and jobs that are parallel to formal employment like Uber and Airbnb. For example, I have a car, and besides being a cashier or an executive, I can make additional money with my car because I work with Uber, or my apartment because I work with Airbnb. But in my region, I have discussed this with taxi drivers in Chile and Colombia, and they think that this economy is the first one. It's no longer a complementary economy for their work, it's the main economy. Uber nowadays is invading all countries. And not only Uber, the economy of cooperation, or the gig economy, as I said, has led to companies such as TaskRabbit, which is in the US. If you want some course, you can hire anyone who is connected to the network, as well as Swap, which is the evolution of Airbnb. Not only rent an apartment, but I can swap my apartment, for example, in Viña, for an apartment in Punta del Este. The system will find someone which matches my needs. So, if you see, we are going back to the times of bartering, and digital platforms are cooperating with this evolution. I myself, I'm a programmer, and it's the first time I attend a GeneXus event. I loved what I heard so far. When we talk about the digital revolution, we should think that it's a social and not technological revolution. We programmers talk about omni-channels, but if you look at the history of Airbnb, the main turning point in its history of success was the design thinking. The first applications they had were not good. The first tablet they used was born in 2015, but they focused on photos, taken high quality photos because they understood that users who wanted to rent an apartment or a house had to be well aware of what they were renting. So they went to New York, where one of the founder members of Airbnb had some training, and they thought of the users. So in digital banking, for example, we talk about people working with people, not clients. And this is what has revolutionized this field. Someone else who is causing a revolution and leading innovations is Elon Musk. He has been working with Tesla Motors for many years, and he created the first video game in South Africa. Then he had the vision of being the first man to inhabit Mars, because his vision is that human beings should live in many planets. So companies and enterprises not only have to focus on the what and the how to do something, they also have to focus on the purpose of doing something, in this case, arriving to Mars. He's working along this line, and when he sold PayPal to eBay, he spent most of the money in the SpaceX, the Tesla Motors, and SolarCity, but mostly in SpaceX. He decided to build a rocket industry, and he did. And trial and error, he started building rockets because he first thought of going to Russia to buy rockets, but then he didn't like the way they were acting, and therefore he decided to have a rocket startup using the Silicon Valley methodology. So there he learned, and in 4 years he built these projects to have rockets which land vertically. In the past, we saw rockets that almost that were almost destroyed in the process, but now they can land vertically and take off again. So in the story of innovation, this is what happens. You learn from your mistakes, and this guy also managed to have rockets that can finish that trip on the sea. Sometimes they explode. He makes mistake. 3 weeks ago, one of them was carrying the Facebook satellite to give free internet to various regions of Africa, and everything exploded. Elon Musk asked for help because there are things he doesn't understand. And even the scientists don't understand why the rocket exploded. They're talking about sabotage, but the fact is that it did explode, and there may be errors from which they will learn. Another one of the industries developed by Elon Musk, when Steve Jobs is shown, and they say that he intervened in 7 business areas. Well, Elon Musk is, according to some, doing hard engineering. He is working in Solar City in order to change the electrical grid as we know it and leave aside the electricity grid. He is going to install batteries, and this is financial industry because he will rent this energy, which will be wireless. It will be mostly solar, and he released the patents. The problem is not the solar panels, the problem is the storage of the energy, and he has been working on improvement the batteries, which can be also used on Tesla cars. So he's in a virtuous circle in 3 companies. What works in one, he uses in the other. And he talks about ecosystem. The objective is to change the world infrastructure so that it is sustainable and doesn't have CO2 emissions. The batteries are connected to internet so that they can be monitored daily, as well as the Tesla cars. When you park a Tesla and there is a software update, the next day he has a new car with new software. Now, in the previous presentation, the Uruguayan government presented its point of view. The Minister of Transport in Chile this year said that many Uber cars would be withdrawn, and also similar enterprises will be denied permission. And this is denying the progress of technology. Now it's October, and they have not taken any Uber car from the street, and Uber is now in a complicated situation, but our politicians, our legislators don't understand what's going on. Uber is a benefit, it's a revolution that is happening also among people, and people are the ones that command. I also saw the presentation of the Bandotal programmers, and let me tell you that when he mentioned the app to control what the kid eats at school, well, this wouldn't work. In Chile, we have an application called Face Alert to avoid and prevent bullying at schools, but no one used it because kids have a lot of Facebook profiles and they give their parents a false one. And in a Facebook profile, the bully looks like a very educated person. Well, this is the Taxi Drivers Association of Argentina against Uber. Airbnb also made was the object of the statements from the Association of Hotel Owners and Operators, and these are taxis in London, the usual London taxis that are using an application for the users. So what's Uber? It's transparent information that I can connect to traditional business. This is another traditional superhero of innovation, Jack Ma, the creator of Alibaba, which is quoted more than J.P. Morgan in the stock exchange. Before this platform of e-commerce, he is cooperating with small villages in China, and it's also a very nice project because it can be applied by banks to micro enterprises and SMEs. He gives these platforms to these villages so that they can sell their products throughout the world. But people have no idea about e-commerce. They don't know how to position themselves on internet. What he does is facilitate the sales for these employees. And he has very few employees working on this. In Latin America, the e-commerce is rarely used, but this is cooperation. And this portal allows them to sell throughout the world with the payment media that you see below. So this is digital revolution, and what does it have to do with the fintech revolution? Well, they go hand in hand because the banks offer financial services to people, and they are not the exclusive suppliers. This is David Cameron before the Brexit. Now he doesn't appear anywhere. He's in hiding. And this is no secret. He talked about the fintech world, which are businesses of trillions of dollars, and he positioned London like the fintech capital of the world with tariff benefits and attracting startups and offering banking services. Why? Well, because out of the 20 biggest companies of international connections and financial transfers in the world, in the non-banking world, the banks have already lost 900 million pounds per year in commissions. 4 years ago, banks would say, no, fintech, which was not called fintech at that moment, they were called telco. There was a struggle between the telco and the banks, but they didn't realize, the banks, that behind that there was already a world of innovation. And a bank charges 3.6% in commissions on average in the UK, whereas these companies charge 0.9%. And TransferWise, which is the best, the more widely known, was created by Russians who lived in England and had to make transfers to Russia. So if I want to transfer from Russia to Spain, I look for someone who wants to transfer from Spain to Russia, and I make a match. And we could do the same thing in Latin America. And besides, UK government, and you see these surveys from 2013, told the banks one of the most important assets you have is data, information about the clients. But the government told them, well, the data belong to the client. So how can I improve access to financing of SMEs while giving better access of this data if I am the bank's client to third parties, not to the banks, to other banks, but to startups or any enterprise my trust and to whom I want to give my data. This survey was published in appeared in 2013, was replied in 2014, and the government in the UK made a report similar to what Bank Total said today. And they talked in this report about sharing data, which gives better financial access to clients. This is a challenge for startups and for banks, and the information will come from many parts, not only from within the organizations. And I cannot protect it any longer because what the UK government is doing is going to come to Latin America and to other places in the world. They have allowed the creation of platforms like this one, like the Open Act project, and a European platform which has an interesting vision to connect an API layer to the banks so that the banks don't have to connect with all startups, but only with this API layer, which is the one that selects, verifies, analyzes the security of the startup. Like in an Apple store, this is a solution to connect to banks. What are we doing in Digital Bank? We go along the same line. In May, we have the hackathon of the Bank of Galicia. Some Uruguayans were in the third place. They are in the audience. And the interesting thing is that the bank launched a challenge. It was the first time that this bank had such an event. We had organized the hackathon of the Bank of Chile in Chile, and we attended the hackathon of the Banco Sabadell 3 years ago. So we were analyzing world trends. And their challenge was to reduce the use of cash, to facilitate financial transactions for SMEs, and to promote financial inclusion. These are cross-cutting challenges. They relate to much of what is happening in Latin America. And they had support from many enterprises. And the hackathons last from 9 a.m. on Saturday to 9 p.m. on Sunday. And here's the team. During the morning, they were wearing ties, etc. But afterwards, they did not sleep. They crossed the River Plate, stayed in the bank, and finished in the third place. And now they are implementing the bank solution. And on Sunday, the winning companies were presented, and prizes were given to the winners. We did the same thing in Bogota. Why am I talking about all this with regard to innovation? Because there are changes that are cultural within an organization. Fintech, financial services, all that is cultural, but banks are now opening to enterprises from outside their ecosystem. Well, Adobe is updating now. In Colombia, we work with the Digital Bank of Colombia, and one of the companies that won was a startup of Colombian origin, which has a payment solution. I have a Mac, so I'm having trouble with Windows. So, the winning company is also a startup which won the challenge of the Aval Group. They created a payment solution. It's a company called Blip. And they created this solution. Why do I mention it? Because the Blip solution is already functioning in the Aval Group, which is one of the most important financial groups of Colombia. It's the Bank of Bogota, the Bank of Occidente, the Popular Bank, and they created an application so that people can pay their bills in restaurants, but also in order to take the technology to the users around the table so that they don't have to take out their wallet or credit card. And this idea was born in the hackathon of the Aval Group. The entrepreneurs are already working in Colombia and now are getting settled in Chile to operate this platform. In Digital Bank, we will have the event in Peru, in Lima, and in October it will take place in Argentina. As I said, the important thing here is cooperation, and I'll give you two examples. Miedificio.com is a Colombian startup which had a business model, and they created an application to administer the expenses in buildings. So they got together with the Banco de Vivienda, which is the largest third largest bank in Colombia, and this housing bank created some value. So this is not technological. They created value, and they used this platform. They launched in 2 months, which for banking projects it's like science fiction. Science fiction. They take the product that was available and now it's given to the micro entrepreneurs that are clients of the bank and administer one or more buildings, and the reciprocity is that they open accounts in the bank and that there is a minimum balance so that the platform is not charged for. So people who had no access to a digital platform now do have access. The bank connected its payment medium, and now they have a social network that offers other services like insurances for the buildings, the apartments, etc. And this is another example for mutual funds or investments. This is a very complex language. I'm not a genius, so I'm not meant to understand everything, but I don't understand this much. What's your risk profile? Are you afraid of heights? No, your risk profile as an investor. Many people know what's about, but banks don't speak the language of the people. And this guy thought of a platform called Fall, which has 27,000 users with significant investments. And through API, they connected with all funds administrators of Chile. And one can invest $50 or more, and usually banks don't allow such small amounts. So they are using the bank infrastructure for these small dealings. And I can analyze, for example, which are the mutual funds that have higher profitability, which are the users that have had a best profitability. I can establish a ranking of mutual funds. And also they connect with the heart of people, talking to them directly. Why do you want to invest? You want to save, and what for? What do you want your pensions funds for? And they establish goals. So this is fintech, and it's oriented to the financial world. But financial transformation is also related to education. This is another startup that use the Duolingo basis. Duolingo is a software to learn languages in 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and they copied this Duolingo, but eliminating the boring teachings that are normally used. So they turned it into a game. One can describe what you want to learn and make videos in 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and you can play with your scores. So you can see which ones of your colleagues are making the same things, doing the same homework, and I can have prizes, for example, free days or some products. And this leads to new ways of working. And this was just a startup that thought of a new way of working and is already working with banks in Latin America. FinTech, we are uploading information on startups and companies that have innovative solutions. We put here news and summaries of various products, and we created a diploma on innovation and digital banking with the Banking Institute Supercaso. We started in Chile, and now we are going to start it in Colombia and other countries. This diploma focuses on digital transformation and is oriented towards the financial industry, startups, prototypes, etc. As I said, I'm a programmer, but it's something that I had not learned in the past. Imagine a user making prototypes. Well, this saves a lot of time. And then there are aspects of cooperation. Here in Peru, you see one, we are giving it a fintech focus. And as I said, we will have the first digital banking in Montevideo in April, and we will have one soon. We'll have another one next year. Also, we had one in La Paz, Bolivia. We have a YouTube channel with more than 150 videos. And these are presentations that serve as ideas so as to create services, operate, and we are also interviewing people from the financial world. So this is what we wanted to tell you about digital bank. This digital revolution for us is the future of the financial services with the various players, the people from the fintech world, the banks, the startups. And in September, we have the digital bank in Chile and then in Argentina, and you can register for this competition. And those who want to attend, to be there, just to liaise with other people, well, you are cordially invited. Thank you very much.